I want to talk about the benefits of being a podcast guest. And there are a couple different benefits that I want to highlight. And I just want to get right into it. The first one being exposure and reach. You could think about a podcast host, they have spent a lot of time going out there and building their podcast audience, building their brand. And you get to go on their podcast as a podcast guest and get additional exposure and reach to that particular host's audience, whether they started the podcast a month ago, whether they started the podcast 3 years ago, you're going to get that additional exposure and reach that that podcast host has already built over the course of time. Where instead of you starting your own podcast and going out there and trying to build your own audience, you get to benefit from the almost like the work of someone else and that they've done on their end. You get to build brand awareness, and then I put recognition and credibility as well. So you get your awareness, you get your recognition, you get your credibility, you get your awareness by that exposure and reach. Then you build up your recognition by going on different podcasts, and then you build up your credibility by also going on these different podcasts. And as you start to go on more podcasts, you get more exposure and reach, you build up more credibility, and you build up more recognition, while all of a sudden you've gone on 20 podcasts, 40 podcasts, 50 podcasts, and people start to see you as the go-to expert within your niche or within your space just from going on and being a podcast guest alone. You have the networking aspect of it where I get to spend 30 minutes, 60 minutes, maybe as little as 15 minutes, depending on the podcast, of just typically one on one, me and the podcast host just talking back and forth. You get to spend a lot of time on that. And then sometimes there'll be a podcast where me and the host, we just really click. Me and the guest, we just really click. And I can see additional opportunities. So the host can see additional opportunities for us to partner together, whatever that may be. And that's where you get that networking aspect in it, where if I were to reach out to you and say, hey, can I pick your brain? I'll buy you a cup of coffee. Chances are you're going to say, oh, I'm too busy. I got a lot going on. Now, if I said, hey, I'd love to interview you as a guest on my podcast, it just sounds so much better. And you're basically picking the guest's brain, but just not coming across that way because they're getting the benefit of being a guest on your podcast. You get the SEO benefit of it. And what I mean by that, in a nutshell, without getting too technical, is that when you go on a podcast, most podcasts are going to do a recap. The recap can also be considered what's called show notes. Within those show notes, they're going to link back to your website. Now, when they link back to your website, that's where you're going to be, that's what's called a backlink. The higher quality backlinks you get, and this can be classified as your DA score, your domain authority score, and you can search on Google, you can throw on, there's definitely tons of different DA checkers out there. You take a website, you put it into this domain authority checker, it'll give you a score. So typically sites like, 15, 20 and above, they're really good quality sites. So that's going to be a very good quality backlink. The more high quality backlinks that you get, the better that Google is going to view your website. The better that Google views your website, the higher you're going to rank. The higher that you rank, the more people are going to find out about your website. So it's like almost like a full funnel process when it comes to the SEO aspect of it. But in a nutshell, that's what it looks like. You go on these podcasts, you get better quality backlinks. You're going to jump up the pages on Google. More people, the higher you up on Google, the more people see you, good things are going to come from it. No one ever wants less traffic to their website. With that said, based on the recognition, the SEO, the networking aspect of it, it's going to lead to sales and leads. Whether a lead for you is someone downloading an ebook, or whether it's someone investing in your next real estate deal, buying your coaching service, buying your product, you're going to notice sales and leads from these podcasts. Sometimes you might go on a podcast and you don't get anything. I say you don't get anything out of it. You get the benefit of going on a podcast and the opportunity that comes with it. But maybe you don't generate a sale or lead. Another podcast, you generate 25 sales or leads. And I found even with our clients in the same niche, the same sort of aspect of a story per se, some clients will go on the same exact podcast. Some will see success, some won't see success. And it's just the way that it is. Maybe it's the time that the podcast got released. Maybe it was the middle of the summer. Another client, they got released in the middle of the winter. More people are listening to it. Not as many people are on vacation. So you don't want to leave it just to go on one podcast. You want to go on multiple podcasts to see which ones work best for you, but you can 100% generate sales and leads from going out there and being a guest on podcasts. And then the last aspect of it, and what I really like is I'm trying to think, okay, how am I going to create social media content for primarily like our LinkedIn, our Instagram, our Facebook, YouTube channel? Well, it's going to be sort of difficult for me to go out there and think about, okay, I want to sit down and I want to write posts where, yeah, I do that for my LinkedIn. We're not going to make it more engaging, and that's going to be this video content. So how do I get video content? Well, by going as a guest on podcasts. Anytime a host asks me a question and I explain it, I'm able to take a clip out of that, make it look nice and professional, make it look nice for social media, and then share it from there. So in any like 30-minute interview that you do, you can probably create anywhere from 5 to 10 social media clips for you to share. And you can think about it, if you're doing 2 interviews a week or 5 interviews a month, that's going to be enough social media content for you to really last a long time and fill up your entire content calendar. But those are the benefits of being a podcast guest. I hope this video, if you're watching, was helpful for you. And if you're listening, I hope this podcast episode was also very helpful for you.